button. That would be why. All right. Try that. We should be live now.
I still have just a please stand by. Yeah, so do I.
Okay. Can you try and refresh it? Because it says that I'm showing it.
Something's spinning now.
Okay.
Oh, there it comes, I think. All right. Oh, I see.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi there. We should be live now.
All right. Great. Let's wait another 2 minutes because I know that there's a couple other people that are supposed to be on. Okay, so if you are going to be listening on YouTube as well as on the phone, which is what we'd like, or Google Hangout, however you're doing it, if you can press *6 to mute it so that you won't get the feedback, because there's a little bit of a delay.
As well as on the phone, which is what we'd like, or Google Hangout, however you're doing it. Okay. Or to mute it so that you won't get the feedback. There's a little bit of a delay. Maggie, is it better to listen to you? Did you say over the phone than over YouTube?
I think over the phone is going to be right away, so I think you should listen to it YouTube-wise. Oh, you know what? I don't know. Let me think. There's going to be a delay on YouTube, so if we want to talk in real time, probably talk on the phone. But if you could mute it though, because then everybody's going to hear the playback like 30 seconds later. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be sharing my screen for some of this so that you can see our PowerPoint presentation. And we will have people joining in and jumping in and out because of time schedule. So let's just go ahead and get started. Can everybody see the PowerPoint?
My YouTube is spinning again, like it's paused.
It is, okay.
Because I was getting quite a bit of delay, the phone, and then it wasn't matching what was on the YouTube. And I tried muting my phone, but...
Yeah, and then that's...
Yeah, Maggie, it's Rachel. The YouTube is probably a good 30 seconds behind. So now I'm seeing your PowerPoint, but it took like 30 seconds.
Okay. What do you think the best option is to do? Because I don't know how to get them combined.
So I think that this will work. Just when you switch slides, just be mindful that it's going to take about 30 seconds for people.
Got it. Okay, cool. Can we see it now? In 30 seconds? Okay. All right. So please remember that if you're not speaking, to try and cut down on that feedback, *6 will mute it. And then on that will unmute yourself too. And please ask any questions at any time and jump on in there, especially with the delay. If I'm not hearing anything, we'll just move on to the next. But just let us know what you have. The point of these is to try and get interactions and get all the information out to make sure all of the communities have the same information, and then that you also can get information from each other. So let's go ahead and get started. just a quick reminder that every day is a new day and there's new opportunities. And when we're talking about sponsorship, I think that that's something to remember, that every day is a new day and you never know what it's going to bring. So introduction-wise, who's here? I'll start. My name is Maggie Gibbons. I am the walk manager in Ann Arbor, Jackson, and Lenawee County. I've been with the association now for just about 3 months, which is very exciting. And I am involved because I love the mission. I do have some family members that have had the disease, and it's just something that I believe really strong in. And we have a saying here, kind of in our office, and our executive director, Jen, talks about that she wants to have that she cured Alzheimer's on her resume, and that's something that speaks pretty strongly to me. So if we can go around, who else is on the call with us? I know Rachel's there, right?
Maggie, this is Tracy. So go ahead.
Okay, we've got Rachel and Tracy, right? And I think
Stacy from from Arcadia Home Care and Staffing in Muskegon, Michigan.
awesome, Stacy. Thank you for joining.
This is Christina Kim from Silver Maples in Chelsea.
Awesome, thank you.
Tina Keys from Vibrant Life Senior Living in Temperance.
Great, thanks, Tina. Are you with the Monroe Walk?
Yeah.
Awesome, okay. Anybody else out there? And like I said, we will have people jumping in and joining us as we go. Thank you so much for jumping in, and we will get going. Please remember that there is a delay, so if I'm going too fast, just let me know. So the next slide should be our agenda, some things that we're going to talk about today. The committee responsibilities as the sponsorship committee, as well as the chairs, kind of how those break down. And every community is different, and every walk is different. So in some of our walks, we have one sponsorship person that is kind of the chair and the one person working with the staff partner. And some we have 8 different people on the committee that are all kind of working together hand in hand. So remember, these are guidelines, and as long as all the objectives are covered, that's all we care about, is just to make sure that all bases are covered. Tools available, things that we have that are there for you to use and to own and make your own and help you in the sponsorship process. Walk event goals. So I'll be using Ann Arbor's example today, or as an example, but you all need to be aware of how these goals are made and why they're made, and what the breakdown is. Prospecting, potential sponsors, who should we be asking? And then the big important, scary, making the ask. I know that that's something that worried me when I first started doing this, and still sometimes, depending on what you're asking for, it can be a little daunting. So making sure that we're giving you all the tools and making you comfortable on how to make those asks. And then the important thing is spreading the love. Once we get this money, we can't just forget about these people, and we have to make sure that we're cultivating these relationships throughout the year, not just during walk season, and we're really building these relationships for the future. All right. So our sponsorship committee, coming together as a beginning, keeping together as a process, and working together as a success. So without sponsorships, we won't hit our goal. But without team fundraising, we won't hit our goal either. So it's important to make sure that we're all working collectively. And, you know, if fundraising is a little slim this year, if teams don't seem like they're up there, then, you know, sponsorship needs to step in there and try and make up the difference, and vice versa. So lots of things to think about when working together. Really briefly, sponsorship committee responsibilities, kind of talking about what the qualifications and the attributes are for people. Again, each committee will operate differently depending on the community, and some event chairs are also sponsor chairs. Some staff partners help with the sponsorship. It's really what is comfortable in your community and what works best for your walk. We should, though, have clearly defined responsibilities and expectations. So committee members should be able to successfully manage 3 to 5 working relationships at a time. You don't want one person to try and handle all 10 of your sponsors because they just won't get the love and appreciation that they need. And that person, that committee member, will be overwhelmed, and we don't want that at all. So, excuse me, the committee is serving as a lead for recruiting new sponsors and working to identify potential opportunities, because just because we've always had the same sponsors doesn't mean that we can't reach out there. And you know what happens if one company that has always supported us has a bad year and they unfortunately aren't able to support us? We need to have a different option in there. So just working with the staff, the Alzheimer's staff, to develop a plan of action and to make sure that we're recruiting, we have good retention with these, and our revenue goals are met. And developing strategies. I think it's really important to figure out who you're focusing on and why you're focusing on them, and have a plan. You don't want the same company to be asked by 3 different people, and you really wouldn't want them to be asked 3 different things. So making sure that we're covering all the bases but not over covering. Does anybody have any comments about this is pretty straightforward, so we'll just skip forward a little bit. I wanted to make sure that we went over the sponsorship booklet for this year. There's lots of tools that we as the association have, and if we don't have what you need, we will get you what you need. So when you're going to make these sponsorship asks, making sure that you have postcards or save the dates and buck slips in addition to the sponsorship things. Make a team card, form letters that have already gone out. These are all tools that are helpful to you in addition to this beautiful brochure that we have.
Hey, Maggie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted you to know that the delay between the phone and your YouTube channel is actually more like a minute.
Okay.
So like I just now am seeing the sponsor opportunity. So can you switch slides and then not talk about it for a few seconds?
Yeah, absolutely.
Specifically.
Yep. All right. Are we switched? We good to go? Okay, so these are all just going to be pictures of the brochure that we already have, that you should have. And if you don't, let your staff partner know and they can find more copies for you. But making sure that when you're going through these, you know, you're not just handing over the brochure, you're opening it up, you're showing people what our programs and services are and where that money is going. There's some quick facts on here about Alzheimer's disease, but having what we call the facts and figure sheets with you. And there's also different tools out there that are applicable to different kinds of industries that you're going to. If you're going to healthcare, you could take things about the facts and figures that what the projections are. And if you're going to a financial company or an insurance company, they're looking at how much it's costing us. They're, depending on who you are talking to, making sure that you're arming yourself with the appropriate information and what is interesting and applicable to them. So again, making sure that you know what is Alzheimer's, some big characteristics, who our demographic is, who we're talking to, and we're going to these people to ask them to be a sponsor. So in this brochure, there are 4 reasons to become a sponsor. So I have them circled on here. It should be popping up any minute, any second. So many of your employees, customers, and colleagues are likely affected by Alzheimer's in one way or another, demonstrating that your company is a community leader in helping to raise awareness of Alzheimer's as a health issue, and gaining visibility in promotional materials. So when we're talking, just creating that buzz out there and making sure that people hear about Alzheimer's and know why it's applicable. And hopefully when we're talking about this as general information, people in their heads are thinking of their grandma or their aunt or whoever that they know was affected. So then on the other part of the brochure is the benefits. And we've had some great new additions this year to our benefits. And when I think of asking for sponsorship, I think of it more as a business transaction rather than just asking for money. Yes, the mission is great. It's great that we're getting this money, but we also need to make sure that they know what their return on investment is. And coming from a position that was not in the nonprofit world, when people were approaching me for things like that, I was always thinking, what is in it for me as a business? And so I like to just mention that to remember what you're trying to get them to appreciate of the benefit, and really knowing those assets and the value. Where are they marketing already? What can you offer them that they might not be getting elsewhere? Or, on the flip side, looking at our benefits and saying, okay, this one, where's the most exposure for you? You tell us where you want this to hit. So some of the newer things this year, our billboards for our diamond level sponsors are awesome, as well as recognition in the what we're calling the Community Education Awareness Guide. And if you haven't seen this yet, please ask your staff partner to show this to you. We're trying right now to get other copies. We kind of borrowed this from another chapter, and we are out of their copies, so we haven't printed our own yet. So we're trying to get some copies, but it's a really great guide that has lots of information in it, and it will be added exposure for the entire year after walk for anybody that has sponsored us. Rachel, do you have anything to add to that on there?
I don't think so. Just that we're really excited because it's kind of the piece of the sponsorship brochure that was missing before. Because if you were familiar with our sponsorship benefits prior, we have a lot of day of, we have a lot of promotion that goes on in the flyers, and they're presented day of. But this is the first thing they'll go out year round. So if family comes in for care consultation in January, they're going to get a copy of this book that has articles in it about care, different tips and tricks that they're going to be able to utilize. And the only way to get an ad or a promotion for your company in this that's going to go direct to all of the people that we serve through programs and services, you have to be a walk sponsor to get that. So all throughout the year, you're going to continue to see benefits.
Yep, and also your company will get exposure at all of our communities. So it won't just be, if you're an Ann Arbor sponsor, it won't just be in the Ann Arbor office. The Ludington people will get exposure in Ann Arbor, and you never know, just because a family is walking in Ludington, they may have family in Ann Arbor that needs help. So that information can go pretty widespread instead of just focused in our community, which is something we're really excited about. So make sure that if you have any questions about that benefits and the difference in the levels, and again, if someone is going to give us their money, but they're not sure, especially if we're talking about these, big diamond level sponsors, and they're not sure about one of the benefits, or they're thinking that there's something missing, we can absolutely adapt that and do that on a basis, individual basis if needed. So just something to keep in mind, that they're not 100% set in stone, and if it's going to be the difference of receiving a $10,000 check or not, I'm pretty sure that your staff partner and the Alzheimer's Association will say, yep, we can do that. So that's something that has, we always like to mention that if they want something else, let's work with them. I know that was one of the helpful factors. We just moved up a sponsor that is splitting between two of our walks rather than just one, and we moved them up to a diamond level sponsor from the platinum from last year. So that extra $5,000, we said to them, okay, what will be most useful to you, and we'll help you split that up so that you get the best return on that investment. All right, so that was just the commitment form to make sure that you have those there for them and that you're helping them fill them out, and those can be faxed in or sent in, and we can get out an invoice to the company and things like that. There is an option on your sponsorship commitment form to have the teams fundraise or have the companies fundraise the money. We would really like to see people to encourage the companies to write the check and have their employees fundraise to match or something along those lines. So making sure that we're trying to get that money in the sooner the better, because then they can keep fundraising and being involved. So this year, another thing that some of the committees have been asking for, looking at the different levels, bronze at $1,000 is sometimes too much for a small business to be able to contribute. So one of our committees asked, well, why don't you have any small business sponsorships? We have had the signs of support, which are the $100 signs that a company could have bought 5 for, and we still will have those. But we wanted to give another example or another option for small businesses who really wanted to be a part of it. So in my mind, a lot of the conversations that I've had with my committees were, we'd like to make our event a little bit more fun and enhance the event experience for those people that are coming. So why don't we partner these small businesses with some sponsorship opportunities? So we're raising revenue while still making the event more fun. So that was kind of the thought process behind these small business sponsorships. Each community, we are providing kind of an outline for you, and each community can change it and can opt to have some of them or none at all or all of them. So these are, the picture will come up in a few minutes, but again, some different options for you in different levels, dollar amounts. You all can change these if it works for you. We are asking that these are for companies that are 20 employees or less, to make sure that our big sponsors aren't saying, well, wait a second, how come I wasn't given this option? So we really are trying to gain sponsorship and not have anybody bump down to these sponsorships. So again, they will work for some communities as they are, and they're not going to work for others. But things that are going to enhance your experience and make the event more fun while still being able to have that small business out there marketing and contributing to the mission without breaking the bank for them. Does anybody have anything about small business sponsorship?
I do.
Okay.
So if you have a few different businesses that want to do like a photo station, for example, are you going to have, do you prefer just to have one business do that, or do you want, 10 photo stations, or how does that work, I guess?
It depends on what your committee wants. On this example, on this slide, we have one available because we wanted to make it more premier or make it more appealing that, it was kind of a first come, first serve. You could have 3 available as long as they are different, I think, and they don't become overwhelming and that's all you have is the photo station. Now, I mean, if we're talking that your walk only has 1 loop, how many photo stations do you really need on your walk? So I really think it's up to you all to decide how many you want and how many are available.
Okay.
Maggie, do the photo stations they display this, maybe on they display the company's name, who's sponsoring it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that small picture that I have on there, you can't really see, that wasn't the best example, but a lot of places are putting their logo on the bottom or saying we support the Walk to End Alzheimer's, or it is up to them on if they want to build this, if they want us to produce this, however it is that you all figure out will work for you. But yeah, slap their logo on it, have them man that station so they're there in their company t-shirts and they're cheering people on and getting people to stop. Another one of the examples on our flyer is a social media tent, which I'm really excited about. That would be a great opportunity for like a technology company or like Verizon to come out with a bunch of tablets and let people stop and check in on their social media. So they're there representing their company, but they're, providing us some internet and tablets to create the buzz and things like that. So it's a win-win for everybody. All right. Well, if nobody else has any questions about small business, and again, like we said, some communities are using all of them. Some people aren't using any of them. You might not sell any this year, but knowing that that is there is a good added bonus. And I know that somebody on my sponsorship committee in Ann Arbor said that this might be easier for them to tackle because they're a first-time committee member. So them taking ownership of this and seeing what they can do, and any added revenue to sponsorship is great. And any new people that we can get into be involved in the walk is just great, because then this year, if they were a $250 small business sponsorship, next year they might be able to bump it up to $500, or they might start a team next year, or you never know what kind of relationship you're going to build. Okay, so the next slide is tools available on Walk Central. So there's a corporate prospect research tool there. There's a sponsorship packet template. If you're not already on Walk Central, please talk to your staff partner. These are great, great tools, and it's a great discussion. There's constantly things being posted of different communities. It's like an online forum for the entire, everybody that's part of Walk to End Alzheimer's. So any committee member, any staff partner, Melissa, who is our director of special events, and Rachel, our director, I don't know, what's your official title? Walk director, I think. And I were emailing with somebody from Indiana and Florida today that popped up on Walk Central that asked a question that we knew that we could help with them, help spread awareness and give good ideas. So kind of like what we're doing today, but available to everybody that does Walk to End Alzheimer's. Okay, so the next thing, sorry, I forgot to pause. Okay, so a goal without a plan is just a wish. So it's really important that you know what your goal is. Whatever goal that you have set as a committee, you got to figure out how you're going to get there. So making sure that we're really understanding our goals and planning them is really important. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to use Ann Arbor as my example, but your staff partner has all of these numbers for you and can really get into the nitty-gritty with you if you haven't done so already. But we want to align the value and the price of sponsorship levels and the number of sponsors you need to meet and exceed your goals. So making sure that, if you have this returning sponsor from last year that was at this level, how many more do you need to get to your goal? You need to know what your percentage was last year. So we like to see a goal when we're looking at our overall goal. So Ann Arbor's overall goal is $110,000. We like to see an 80-20% split. So 80% of that revenue should come from fundraised dollars, and 20% is our goal to have as sponsorship dollars. So last year's actual sponsorship dollars were $11,250. That's what Ann Arbor brought in. Our goal that we set to increase from our actual sponsorship last year was $15,000. So that is our sponsorship goal. But when we're looking at $110,000, oh, and I missed a zero on there. Sorry, Ann Arbor. That's supposed to be 110. When we're looking at our $110,000 overall goal, 20% of that that would be sponsorship is $22,400. So just something to keep in mind there, that you can set our actual goal so that we don't exceed it, or I would love to exceed it, but so we don't miss it and we don't set ourselves up to fail. But keeping in mind that 20% too, so that we can make sure that the team dollars that they're fundraising have an opportunity to help us make up that goal as well. Does anybody have any questions about their specific walk goals? Okay.
Maggie,
Yeah.
why do we want 20% to come from sponsorship as opposed to 80% of team fundraise dollars?
You tell me, Rachel.
I'm sorry. No, I think it's important to kind of define that. We're not just setting a 20% like, hey, this is what we want because it sounds good. 20% is where if the point in which your team could make up that money if the following year all of your sponsors walked away.
Okay.
So we really caution against events having a really high percentage of sponsorship because we know this is the grassroots event and it's only going to be successful through the fundraising efforts of our community curves in order to get widespread market penetration of our community members. We need corporate support as well. So that's kind of the sweet spot of having a market penetration and having good support in the community by businesses, but also protecting the event from a potentially harmful flow if a sponsor walks away.
That's a great point. I'm making a couple notes. Does anybody else have anything else to comment on that? Does everybody know what your goal is? Do you have your dollar amount in your head?
Maggie, I don't know what ours is. I just joined the committee and
Okay.
at my first meeting. I'm joining as from a home care company. So
Okay.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. What is your walk again?
Did you say when is it?
No, what community are you?
Oh, Muskegon.
Muskegon. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I believe that your goal is $4,000.
Okay.
That's what I have. It may have changed, but I believe that is where you were at.
Yeah.
Yep. And it looks like last year you were at about $1,300. So you are projected to grow a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So just something to keep in mind there. So this past and potential part, which comes up next, will be really beneficial to you.
Okay.
Okay, so alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. So you can't do it alone. You need some sponsors here. So really looking at it, knowing who your sponsors are and what's in it for them. You need to know what their needs are. And you need to know what you're selling and sell what's best for them. Again, it is great to think about this and look at the dollars that come into the mission, and that we're all here to talk about the mission and to cure Alzheimer's. And we know that, and to raise money and funds. But from a business standpoint, they are giving you their hard-earned dollars, and they have to make sure that there is a reason for that if they don't have a personal connection. And even if they do have a personal connection, they still have to justify that dollar amount, particularly if we're asking them for a big dollar amount. So finding out where they're already marketing, what benefits they're receiving in other places. Who are you talking to? So knowing who your past sponsors were, that's what this slide is about. What's their mission? What's their connection? And what are they already supporting? If you're looking at their website and they have 15 years of sponsorship at all Michigan Humane Society events, they may not be your best potential because they might already be bought in to just the Humane Society. But we also are trying to find people that that would be for a potential sponsor. But we're also trying to figure out who we know in there, and they may have a connection that we're not thinking of. So the mission, reminding ourselves that mission is kind of like a bonus, and thinking about the business transaction of these. Sorry, I got behind on my notes. Hang on, I'm flipping forward. All right, so Potential new sponsors. Let's jump right on in there. You've got to put together a list of who you haven't talked to and who's not involved, and then kind of break that down a little bit. And there's lots of tools and ways that you can do this. I know in one of our communities, we took a list of the top 100 employers in the area and broke it down and figured out who on the committee knew those people already. And then we had some warmer leads, but that was still left us with a list of 60 employers. Well, the likelihood that we're really going to get 60 employers and know who they are and do all the research and get in there and get those new sponsors probably isn't very high. So we kind of prioritized that list and figured out who had the best availability. And there's lots of things that you can look at. You need to look at do they have the capability to give? And what they've done in the past, like I was just talking about with the Humane Society example. And do you think that that's really going to be worth your time to do the research, because you want to be prepared and you want to know who you're asking and what you're asking for. So the slide that's up right now, I hope, says prospecting. Some of you may have already seen this. Is that slide up? Can somebody tell me before I jump right on in?
Yep, it's up.
Okay, thanks. We are calling this the sphere of influence, but I was talking to our director of special events earlier today, and her name is Melissa. If you haven't met her already, she was telling me, because I was like, the sphere of influence, and her example of this is a treasure map. This is kind of you figuring out what your own treasure map is, and the X is marking the spot, and the X is marking, your secret little treasures that you kind of forgot about or you haven't tapped into yet. So making sure that everybody on your committee is doing this and figuring out who they know in the committee or in the community and what resources you haven't tapped yet. So thinking about it that way, that these are sweet little spots, and you got to figure out who is where and how you can use them. Those warm leads are the companies that are most likely to sponsor and should probably be our priority. It's a lot easier to get a meeting with somebody when you say, so-and-so set me up, or that person on your committee is saying, hey, Joe, Sandy from the Alzheimer's Association is going to call you. Is this okay? I gave you your information. So making sure that you're not getting overwhelmed by this huge group of 100 people, but making those warm connections first, that will help, and those are great perspective. Excuse me. Also looking at companies that may see the value in connecting with the Alzheimer's Association, seeking out the ones that will have the potential value, as well as the same target demographic, aligning themselves with us. They could drive their potential consumer decisions. So again, it's not just we're doing this great charitable gift or supporting our community. It's also looking at what else am I going to get from this. So finding those people that we already know that need that connection and partnering with us. Another great prospect are past participants. We know that we already have their buy-in, but they may not have tapped into their resource, which is their company. So kind of a little way that we can get in there and figure out who they are. When they sign up, past teams or past registrations, they can enter who they work for. And we have that information. We also have gone as far as going through people's email addresses and seeing if there's any domains on there. So at EMU, and we're trying to get into EMU, well, we're reaching out to that person and saying, hey, what do you do at EMU? Do you work there? Are you a student? Do you have any connections? How can we help get that organization or that company involved in our walk? Anybody have any comments about that? All right. On the same token, knowing again what their benefit is. So you are giving them a benefit, and they have to be able to see that. So making sure that you are talking about the location of the event and in accordance to where their business is, and how viewable it will be, how accessible it will be, and how it pertains to their business. The penetration of the market, who are we talking to? That's really with like the senior living or, those the community guides are great, that they're going to be penetrating different markets that they might not have been able to tap before by having their logo out there. So they really could get a good return on investment that way. And the duration of the marketing, that again, the community ad is great. It's not just the day of or leading up until walk, it's the entire year following. So that's something that has worked for us in Ann Arbor, is talking about that there's not only just the day of in October or September for most of the walks, it's going to be the following year after, and something that they can really shout from the rooftops, hey, look at me, here I am, I was supporting them, and not just my name's on a t-shirt that maybe somebody is going to see walking down, or a flyer that isn't up anymore. We are providing this value to our partners with the customer connection that we already have. We're aligning their brand with ours, and it's reaching out to some people that they might not have been able to talk about, and that's huge when you're talking to marketing people or community or company heads. That reach is going to be that much further because they're partnering with us, and sometimes it is fulfilling a personal connection for them. Companies can reach their customers on an emotional level, listening to what is important to their customers, but they also, if the head of the company, his mother is living with the disease right now, he may be able to not only align his personal beliefs and support into the Alzheimer's, but he may then take his company into it too. Anybody have anything else to talk about potential or past sponsorships? Any questions? All right. So when we started talking about sponsorships in one of our committees, we kind of got a blank stare, and people got worried. What do you mean I have to go into this company and ask for money? I'm not ready to do that. I don't know what to say. And I will be honest with you, that's something that really worried me. And still sometimes, like I said earlier, makes me a little nervous. I get sweaty palms thinking about it. But, sometimes it's easier than you think. I went into a meeting not that long ago, and we were all prepped, ready to go with our plan A of a diamond sponsor, and our plan B of keeping them at the platinum sponsor. And we said, this is what we were thinking. What are you thinking? And they said, yep, we want to be a diamond sponsor. And that was it. We kind of looked at each other and said, okay, now it's time to eat lunch. I don't know what else to say. Sometimes it's much easier than you think, and it's not that scary. So making sure that you are prepared as prepared as possible. You do your research beforehand. Your staff partner has sat with you and figured out what makes sense. So preparing, a one-page checklist is available on Walk Central that will go over certain aspects of what you should be thinking about. Know your demographic, know your facts and figures that you can just throw out there, especially if the business is owned by women. Talk about women in Alzheimer's and how likely that is, how more likely it is. Talk about how much more it's going to cost us in 2020 than it is now. Things like that. You can also look at their community wellness page or their About Us on their website to get some of that information. Corporate responsibility and social responsibility, that really can kind of give you a direction of where you want to go. And then with that plan, you need to know what you're going in to ask for. What level of support are we hoping for, and what's your backup plan, so that you are prepared to say, okay, we understand that. Thank you very much. Would you consider this instead? So when you're scheduling that meeting, you already know them, right? Because somebody has already set you up with them, and you've already called. They already know you're going to be asking. Let's put it that way, because we're not cold calling people, hopefully. So let them know what you're coming in for. I'm coming in to talk to you about the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, making sure that you're using those keywords so that they know who we are. and let them know if somebody else is coming with you. Myself and somebody from our committee or event chair, Susie Q, would like to come in and talk to you about the Walk to End Alzheimer's in your community. And then the meeting. It's important during this meeting to kind of schmooze them a little bit. Again, thinking about it like a business transaction, a sales piece. You got to find a common ground. So, hey, I really like your Vera Bradley purse, or I see that picture of that child on your desk. I played soccer, or my son plays soccer, or something like that, to kind of make that connection and kind of ease it up a little bit, but ease that tension, but they know what you're there for. So we're going to be talking about who the Alzheimer's Association is, what we do, and how Walk falls into this. Having that sponsorship packet there with you will be so helpful because it has all that information in there for you. And then talking about why you're personally involved is really important. You should also have facts available for your walk, money that was raised last year, how many participants, and tell them what similar businesses are at. And then you need to directly ask for their support at that level. Your competitor, ABC Company, was in at the platinum level sponsorship. Were you available, or were you thinking that you could support us and be in at the platinum level this year? And then the worst part for me is that you have to shut up and wait. You have to just sit back and wait for them to answer. Let them process it. Don't start just blabbering on. Let them think about it. And then if they have some concerns that they bring up, address them and ask again. And then before you leave, you need to have an answer or a time, either an appointment or a phone call scheduled that you can call and follow up and ask to make sure to get that answer. So either way, know which direction you're going. If you're going to follow up with them, or if you have any question, or if you have an answer right then and there. Anybody out there have any successes from asks, or things that worked well for you or didn't work well for you that you won't do again? Okay, well, like I said, it doesn't always have to be scary. It doesn't always have to take a lot of time. They know what you're coming in for. Let's just get that information out to them and let them make a decision. So the other thing that we really want to start working on and is a focus of ours is to make sure that we're recognizing our sponsors. We've all been on, I think of it kind of like a date, where you go on a bad date and you want to avoid the person because you know you're going to see them again, but you don't want to because it was awkward. And you don't want to do that with your sponsors. You don't want to just take their money and then forget about them until the day of. So you want to make sure that you're touching base with them. Some committees are putting together kind of like a stewardship calendar that they know on the third Thursday of every month they're going to either stop by and drop off coffee or a cookie or a handwritten thank you card, or even just shooting them an email like, hey, this is where we're at, how you doing? We so very appreciate your support. Make sure that you all are coming out to walk on the day of. So things like that with your sponsors are really important. Make sure that you're showing them the love and don't wait till the day of. That's what's important. If things are a little slow, we can share it on social media, like a spotlight of our sponsors and press releases. We're going to name drop them when they're in the community, especially our big ones, our big sponsors, so that people know that they are part of us. And when we're talking about those people, there might be a competitor that's listening that then wants to jump on board because they've heard that ABC Company is involved. And then on the day of, make sure that you are making them feel the love that day. Make it a point to greet them by name, thank them at the beginning of walk, because you've already built that relationship. So make sure that you are honoring that relationship and that they feel included and appreciated. So then the last thing is big things often have small beginnings. So don't think that because you get turned down the first time that next year we won't be able to get them at that silver sponsor, or this year they say, I'm really sorry, we've already budgeted and we just don't have it in our budget. Then let's try and get them to at least come to our event and see how fun it is, and to get a team to walk and get them involved that way. Just because they say no doesn't mean that that's the end and we have to walk away. Sponsors that we already have their bought in. So on the day, so Ann Arbor is October 4th this year. On October 4th, it's our job to go around and say, hey, what'd you think? Did you have fun? Wasn't this a great event? Thanks so much for sponsoring. We can count on you next year, right? And then follow up with them, not 4 months later, not 6 months later. We're going to follow up with them a couple weeks later or a month later and say, hey, I know you're getting ready to write your budget. Can we count on your support? Could we move you up to a different one? And also thinking about, what did you like? What didn't you like? What can we change? What would work better for you? We think is really important. Remember, this is the business transaction. So in addition to providing that warm and fuzzy feeling, we also have to keep in mind their financial calendar and their well-being of their company, and make sure that they're getting the best return on investment. For the future, relationships take time. We don't necessarily meet somebody and decide that day that we're going to marry them or move in and marry with them, unless you're on that show, that Married at First Sight. But that's not really how sponsorships work. So cultivating the relationships kind of in the off season. There shouldn't be an off season for walk. We talk about walk season right now, but every day is walk season. So